The Great Hall of the Galactic Council was a place of wonder. Giant crystals hung from the ceiling. They gave soft blue light to the room below. Hundreds of alien species sat in their seats. They came from every corner of the galaxy. Some had scales, some had fur, some had no bodies at all and floated like clouds of light. In the middle of this grand place sat the human delegation. Their section was small. It was placed near the back, far from the center stage. This was not an accident. The council had put humans there on purpose. It was a message. Humans were not important. Ambassador Park Ho sat in his chair. He was a man of 50 years. His black hair had streaks of gray. His face showed lines from years of stress. He wore a simple dark suit. No medals, no fancy clothes, just a man doing his job. Today was the annual resource meeting. Every species would ask for what they needed. Trade deals would be made. Agreements would be signed. Ho had done this for 8 years now. 8 long years of asking. 8 long years of being told no. The delegation from will now speak, the council speaker announced. A tall creature with blue skin and 4 arms stood up. Counselor was his name. He was the leader of the species. They were one of the founding members of the council. They had power. They had respect. They had everything humans wanted. "The require additional mining rights in Sector 7, said. His voice was smooth like oil. "We will need full access to 3 new planets." The council voted. The motion passed in seconds. No one questioned it. No one asked if they really needed those planets. They just said yes. Ho watched this happen. He had seen it many times before. The powerful species always got what they wanted. The weak ones had to fight for scraps. 2 hours passed. Species after species made their requests. Most were approved quickly. Some took longer, but eventually everyone got something. "The delegation from Earth will now speak," the speaker finally said. Ho stood up. He could feel the eyes of the room on him. Some looked bored. Some looked annoyed. A few looked at him like he was an insect that had crawled onto their dinner plate. "Thank you," Ho said. He kept his voice calm and clear. "Earth requests permission to establish a medical station in the neutral zone. We wish to help species who cannot afford proper health care. We ask for nothing in return. This would be a gift to the galaxy." Silence filled the room. Then came the laughter. It started small. A few chuckles from the back. Then it grew. Soon half the council was laughing at him. Ho stood there and took it. He had learned to take it. "The humans want to play doctor now," someone shouted. "Perhaps they should learn to cure their own problems first," another voice called out. Counselor raised one of his 4 hands. The room went quiet. He had that power. When spoke, others listened. Ambassador Park said. He spoke slowly like he was talking to a child. "Your species has been part of this council for 40 years. In that time, what have you contributed? Your technology is basic. Your military is weak. Your planet is small and unimportant. Why should we let you build anything?" Ho felt the heat rise in his chest, but he pushed it down. He had to stay calm. Getting angry would only make things worse. "With respect, Counselor," Ho replied, "human doctors have served on 12 different worlds. We have cured diseases that other species could not. We have saved millions of lives. Our medical knowledge may not be the most advanced, but our dedication is strong." Waved his hand like he was brushing away a fly. "Saved lives? You mean you performed simple tasks that any species could do? You were cheap labor, nothing more. The council does not need your help." More laughter came from the crowd. Ho looked around the room. He saw the faces of creatures who thought they were better than him, better than all humans. They had thought this way for 40 years. "I understand," Ho said quietly. He sat back down. The meeting continued. Earth's request was, it was always. In 40 years, the council had approved exactly 3 human proposals. 3 small, meaningless things that changed nothing. After the meeting, Ho walked through the station's corridors. His assistant, a young woman named Min, walked beside him. She was new to this job, only 2 years in the diplomatic service. She still had hope in her eyes. Ho remembered having that same hope once. "Sir, why do they treat us this way?" Min asked. "We have done nothing wrong. We follow all the rules. We pay our fees. We do everything they ask." Ho sighed. "Because we are new, Min to them, 40 years is nothing. Some of these species have been in the council for 10,000 years. They see us as children, annoying children who should stay quiet and do as they are told." "But that is not fair," she said. "No, it is not fair. But fairness is not something the council cares about." They reached the human section of the station. It was small compared to other areas. The rooms were basic. The furniture was old. The council gave humans the minimum of everything, just enough to survive, never enough to thrive. Ho went to his office and sat at his desk. He pulled up his computer and began writing his report. He would send it to Earth. He would tell them about another failed request, another day of insults, another step backward. His door opened. Admiral walked in. She was the commander of Earth's small fleet in this sector, a woman of 45 with short black hair and sharp eyes. She wore her military uniform with pride, even though it meant nothing to the aliens around them. "I heard about the meeting," said. She sat down across from him. "Again." "Always," Ho replied. "He enjoys it, I think, making us look small. It gives him pleasure." Shook her head. "My soldiers are tired, Ho. They guard council ships. They protect council stations. They fight council battles. And for what? We get nothing, not even respect." "I know. The crew of the saved a transport ship last month. 300 lives. Do you know what thanks they got? Sent a message saying our ship was too slow to respond. He complained about us." Ho closed his eyes. He was so tired. 40 years of this. 8 years of his own life spent trying to make things better, and nothing had changed. Nothing would ever change. "What do you want me to do?" he asked. "Start a war. We cannot win against them. We are too weak." "I do not want war," said, "but I want them to see us, to really see us, to understand what we bring to this galaxy, because right now they think we are nothing, and as long as they think that, they will treat us like nothing." The next day brought another council meeting. This one was about security. Pirates had attacked ships in the Outer Rim. The council needed to decide how to respond. Ho sat in his usual seat. He listened as species argued about who should send ships, who should pay for the operation, who should lead the fleet. "We propose that human vessels take the lead position," one counselor suggested. "They are expendable." The word hung in the air. Expendable. Ho felt Min tense beside him. Watching from the gallery above, gripped the railing until her knuckles turned white. Expendable, that was what they thought of human lives. Not valuable, not important, just bodies to throw at a problem. Counselor stood up. "I agree with this proposal. The humans have little else to offer. Let them prove their worth through sacrifice. If they die fighting pirates, at least they will have served some purpose." Something broke inside Ho. He felt it snap like a wire pulled too tight. 8 years of patience, 40 years of human suffering. All of it came rushing up like a wave. He stood up. The room went quiet. Humans did not stand up unless they were told to speak. This was against protocol. This was not how things were done. "Ambassador Park, you are not given permission to," the speaker began. "I do not need permission," Ho said. His voice was steady, calm, but there was steel in it now. "I am the representative of Earth. I speak for 8 billion people, and I have something to say." Laughed. "Oh, this should be entertaining. Please, little human, tell us what is on your mind." He looked at the council. He looked at all the faces that had mocked him for years. "You call us expendable," Ho said. "You call us primitive. You call us vermin. For 40 years, humanity has accepted this treatment. We believed that if we worked hard enough, if we proved ourselves enough times, you would accept us. We were wrong." He pulled a small device from his pocket. It was a data chip. He held it up for all to see. This contains Earth's official notice of withdrawal. Effective immediately, humanity ends all treaties with the Galactic Council, all trade agreements, all military alliances, all cooperation, everything. The silence that followed was complete. No one laughed now. His blue skin grew pale. You cannot be serious. You would cut yourselves off from the entire galaxy. You would doom your species to isolation. Ho smiled. It was not a happy smile. We will take our chances. Living with your contempt is worse than living alone. He dropped the chip on his desk. Then he turned and walked toward the exit. Min hurried after him. In the gallery was already moving toward the door. You will regret this, shouted. When you come crawling back, and you will come crawling back, we will not be so generous. Ho stopped at the door. He looked back one final time. We are humans, he said. We do not crawl. And then he was gone. The great doors closed behind him. For the first time in 40 years, humanity had said no. The council sat in stunned silence, not understanding what they had just lost. But they would learn. Soon enough they would all learn. The council chamber erupted in chaos after Ho left. Voices shouted over each other. Some were angry, some were confused. A few were laughing so hard they could barely breathe. Counselor raised his 4 hands and called for silence. It took several minutes before the room calmed down. When it did, he spoke with a wide smile on his blue face. Well, that was unexpected, said. It seems our little friends have finally grown a spine. How amusing. Laughter rippled through the chamber once again. Let them go, another counselor said. He was a creature covered in thick brown fur. His name was Tor, and he represented the people. The humans contribute nothing. They take up space and complain. We are better off without them. Agreed, said a floating cloud of lights. This was counselor of the. Their technology is primitive. Their military is laughable. What can they possibly do alone? Nodded slowly. They will return. Give them 6 months, maybe a year. When they realize how much they need us, they will come back begging for forgiveness. And when that day comes, we will make them pay for this insult. The council voted to accept humanity's withdrawal. It passed with no opposition. Not a single species argued against it. Not a single voice suggested that maybe, just maybe, they should try to keep the humans in the alliance. On the human side of the station, things were very different. Ho sat in the main conference room with his entire staff. Min was there. Admiral was there. 30 other humans filled the remaining seats. They were diplomats, soldiers, doctors, and engineers, the best that Earth had sent to the stars. It is done, Ho said. We have officially left the Galactic Council. No one cheered. No one celebrated. They all understood how serious this was. For 40 years, humanity had tried to be part of something bigger. Now they were alone. What happens next? A young diplomat asked. We go home, Ho replied. All of us. Every human in council space returns to Earth or to our colony worlds. We bring back our ships, our people, and our resources. We leave nothing behind. Admiral stood up. I have already sent orders to our fleet. The withdrawal will begin tomorrow. All human vessels will pull back to our borders within 2 weeks. 2 weeks, someone asked. Is that enough time? It will have to be, said. The longer we stay, the more chances for something to go wrong. We need to move fast. Ho nodded. Min, please coordinate with the other human stations. Make sure everyone knows what is happening. I do not want anyone left behind. Min bowed her head. Yes, Ambassador. The meeting ended. People went back to their duties. There was so much to do. 40 years of work had to be undone in just a few days. That night Ho stood by the window of his quarters. He looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there was Earth, his home, a place he had not seen in 3 years. Soon he would see it again. His door chimed. He told it to open. Admiral walked in. You should be sleeping, Ho said. So should you, replied. She came to stand beside him at the window. Do you think we made the right choice? Ho was quiet for a long moment. I do not know, but I know we could not continue the way things were. They were killing us slowly, our pride, our spirit, our will to keep going. Every day in that council chamber took something from us. Eventually, there would be nothing left. Nodded, my soldiers feel the same way. They were tired of being told they were worthless, tired of saving lives and getting no thanks. At least now they know where they stand. Where do they stand? Alone but free. The next morning, the withdrawal began. Human ships started leaving their posts. Medical frigates pulled away from alien hospitals. Engineering vessels left the stations they had been maintaining. Military ships abandoned the borders they had been guarding for decades. The council watched this happen with amusement. Look at them run, Counselor Tor said during an emergency session. Like scared animals returning to their holes. This is what happens when children try to play with adults. Counselor flickered with light. I must admit, I am surprised they are actually leaving. I thought it was just a show, a way to get attention. Humans are emotional creatures, explained. They feel things too deeply. They got their feelings hurt, so now they are throwing a tantrum. They will calm down eventually. They always do. The council went back to their normal business. They had more important things to discuss than a minor species having a bad day. On the planet, a human medical team was packing their equipment. They had been running a hospital there for 15 years. They were a reptilian species with weak immune systems. Human doctors had helped them fight dozens of diseases. Dr. Young supervised the packing. She was 60 years old and had spent most of her life on this planet. She knew every patient by name. She had delivered thousands of bobbies. She had held the hands of the dying and celebrated with the living. An official came to see her. His name was. He was a government minister. His scales were gray with age and his eyes were worried. Doctor, please reconsider, begged. Our people depend on you. Without your hospital, many will die. Young felt pain in her heart. She did not want to leave. These people had become her family, but orders were orders. I am sorry, Minister, she said. The decision was made above my level. All humans must return home. But the children in the sickness ward, the mothers waiting to give birth, what will happen to them? You have doctors. We have trained them for 15 years. They know what to do. Shook his head. They are not you. They do not have your knowledge, your experience. Please, doctor, we are not like the council. We have always respected humans. We have always been grateful. Young touched his arm gently. I know, old friend, and I will remember your kindness forever, but I cannot stay. My government has called me home and I must obey. She handed him a data chip. This contains everything, all our medical knowledge, all our research, all the treatments we develop together. Use it well. Take care of your people. Took the chip with trembling hands. Will you ever come back? Young looked at the hospital one last time. The building she had helped design. The place where she had saved so many lives. The home she was leaving behind. I do not know, she whispered. I truly do not know. Similar scenes played out across the galaxy. Human engineers left the power stations they had built on a dozen worlds. Human teachers closed the schools they had opened for alien children. Human farmers abandoned the crops they had planted to feed hungry populations. The galaxy watched. Some species were concerned. They had come to rely on human help, but most just shrugged. Humans were replaceable. Anyone could do what they did. On the council station, a party was being held. Counselor had organized it. He called it a celebration of unity, but everyone knew what it really was. A celebration of humanity's departure. A chance to mock the species that had dared to stand up and say no. To a better future, announced, raising his drink. A future without primitive species dragging us down. The crowd cheered. Drinks were shared. Stories were told about foolish things humans had done. Everyone laughed at the jokes. Everyone agreed that this was for the best. In the corner of the party, a small figure watched in silence. Her name was Lyra. She was a young member of the species, small and thin with large purple eyes. They were one of the weaker council members. They survived by staying quiet and not making trouble. Lyra had worked with humans before. She had been an assistant to a human engineer named Park Ho. He had taught her everything she knew about reactor systems. He had been kind to her, patient. He had never called her names or made her feel small. Now Ho was gone, all the humans were gone, and Lyra felt afraid. She slipped out of the party and went back to her quarters. She pulled up her computer and began to calculate. How much had humans really contributed to the council? What would happen now that they were gone? The numbers she found shocked her. Human engineers maintained 30% of the council's power grid. Human doctors worked in hospitals across 200 worlds. Human peacekeepers patrolled some of the most dangerous areas of space. Human farmers provided food to 67 planets that could not grow their own. Lyra stared at the screen. This was not a minor loss. This was a disaster waiting to happen. She tried to tell someone. She went to her supervisor. She went to other counselors. She showed them the numbers. She begged them to listen. No one did. Humans are not that important, they all said. We will replace them easily. Stop worrying. But Lyra could not stop worrying. She had seen the truth in the data. The council was about to learn a very hard lesson about the value of those they had dismissed as worthless. 2 weeks passed. Every human was gone. The council celebrated for 3 days straight. And then slowly, things began to fall apart. It started with small problems. A power station failed on one planet. A hospital ran out of medicine on another. A trade route became unsafe when pirates realized no one was guarding it anymore. Each problem was minor on its own, but there were so many of them. Every day brought new reports of things going wrong. Every day, the list of crises grew longer. Counselor dismissed these reports. Temporary issues, he said. We are adjusting. Things will stabilize. But they did not stabilize. They got worse. They sent an urgent message. Disease was spreading. Without human doctors, they could not contain it. They begged for help. The council sent help, but the doctors they sent did not know biology. They made mistakes. People died. More people kept dying. On the farming world crops began to fail. Human farmers had developed special techniques for growing food in the planet's difficult soil. No one else knew these techniques. The harvest was a disaster. Millions faced starvation. The power grid started to collapse. Human engineers had been holding it together with skill and knowledge. Now that they were gone, no one understood how to maintain it. Blackouts hit dozens of planets. Factories shut down. Hospitals lost power. People froze in the dark. Lyra watched all of this happen. She had predicted it. She had tried to warn everyone, but no one had listened. Now they were paying the price. 1 month after the humans left, Counselor called an emergency meeting. For the first time in his long career, he did not look confident. He looked worried. We have a situation, he announced to the council. Several situations, actually. There have been some difficulties since the human departure. Difficulties, Counselor Tor snapped. My people are starving. 3 of our farm worlds have failed completely. My species is dying of disease, another counselor shouted. Where are the doctors you promised to send? The power grid is failing, someone else screamed. We have had 12 blackouts this week alone. Raised his hands for calm. No one listened this time. The chamber was in chaos. Species that had laughed at the humans were now crying for help. And somewhere in the darkness of space, humanity watched. They had said they would not crawl. They had kept their promise. The council was learning what life was like without them, and the lesson was only beginning. 3 months had passed since the humans left. The galaxy was burning. Not with fire, with something worse, with chaos, with fear, with the slow death of systems that no one knew how to fix. Counselor sat alone in his office. The lights were dim. Power rationing had begun even on the council station. The great crystal lights that once filled the halls with blue beauty now flickered weakly. Sometimes they went dark for hours. His desk was covered with reports. Each one brought more bad news. Each one described another disaster. Each one made it clear that the council was falling apart. He picked up the first report. Sector 7, the mining region his species had demanded just before the humans left. The entire sector was now offline. Human engineers had built the extraction systems. Human technicians had maintained them. Now those machines sat silent. No one could figure out how to turn them back on. They needed those minerals. Their entire economy depended on them. Already, factories were closing. Workers were losing jobs. Protests had begun in the capital city. The second report was worse. The Galactic Trade Network had collapsed. This was the system that connected all council worlds. It allowed ships to communicate. It tracked cargo. It made trade possible across thousands of light years. Humans had built most of it. When they left, they took their knowledge with them. The network started having problems in the first week. Small errors, missed signals, lost data. By the end of the first month, whole sections were failing. By the end of the second month, it was almost useless. Now, ships flew blind. They had no idea what was waiting for them at their destinations. Some arrived to find ports closed. Others discovered that the goods they carried were no longer needed. A few disappeared completely, lost in the void without the network to guide them home. Threw the report across the room. His 4 hands shook with anger. How had this happened? How had his magnificent council been brought so low by the departure of one primitive species? His door opened. An aide rushed in, looking terrified. "Counselor, there is an emergency on Prime. Another power failure. This one hit the hospital district." Closed his eyes. How many dead? They do not know yet. The emergency systems failed too. They are still counting. Waved the aide away. He needed to think. He needed to find a solution. But every path he considered led nowhere. The humans were gone, and they had taken the future with them. On Earth, things were very different. Ambassador Ho stood on the balcony of his home in Seoul. The city spread out before him, alive with lights and energy. Cars moved on the streets below. People walked and talked and laughed. Life continued as normal. He held a cup of tea in his hands. It was warm, comforting. He had missed this simple pleasure during his years in space. Alien stations never got tea quite right. His phone buzzed. A message from Admiral. He read it quickly. Latest report from the Council. Power grid down to 60% capacity. Trade network at 40%. Estimated time to complete collapse, 2 months. Ho put the phone away. He felt no joy at this news, no satisfaction, only a deep sadness for all the innocent people who were suffering. He had not wanted this. None of them had wanted this. They had simply wanted to be treated with respect, to be seen as equals, to have their contributions recognized. The Council had refused, and now the Council was learning what life was like without humanity's quiet support. Arrived an hour later. She came with Min, who had grown much in the past few months. The young woman no longer looked uncertain. Her eyes were sharp and focused. She had found her strength. "The Council sent another message," Min said. "This makes 17 requests for talks." "In our response," Ho asked. "The same as before. We are not interested in talks at this time." Sat down heavily. "They are getting desperate." Himself recorded a personal appeal. "He asked to speak with you directly." Ho laughed softly. "The one who called us vermin, the one who said we were expendable, he wants to talk now." He apologized in the recording, said he may have been too harsh. "May have been?" Ho shook his head. "No, We do not talk until they truly understand what they lost. A half-hearted apology changes nothing. Min pulled up a holographic display. It showed a map of the galaxy. Red dots covered large portions of it. These are the crisis zones, she explained. Each red dot is a planet experiencing major problems: food shortages, medical emergencies, power failures, crime waves. Ho studied the map. So much red, so much suffering. His heart ached for the innocent people caught in this disaster. And the non-council worlds, he asked. Min touched the display. Green dots appeared, scattered among the red. These are worlds that have reached out to us independently. They want to establish direct relationships with Earth, trade agreements, medical support, technical assistance, all outside the Council framework. How many? 47 so far, more every day. Leaned forward. Some of them are Council members, Ho. They are going behind's back. They know the Council is dying and they want to secure their future before it is too late. This was interesting. The Great Galactic Council, the mighty alliance that had ruled the galaxy for thousands of years, was breaking apart, and it had only taken 3 months. What do you recommend? Ho asked. And Min exchanged looks. They had clearly discussed this already. We should help them, Min said. Not the Council, the individual worlds, the ones who are suffering through no fault of their own. Ho raised an eyebrow. That would anger the Council. The Council is angry already, pointed out, and they cannot do anything about it. Their fleet is falling apart. Their economy is collapsing. They have no power to threaten us anymore. This is not about power, Ho said quietly. It is about principles. We left because they treated us poorly. If we refuse to help innocent people just to punish the Council, are we any better than them? Silence filled the room. It was a hard question. There were no easy answers. Finally, Ho spoke again. Contact the worlds that reached out. Tell them we are willing to discuss arrangements, but make something very clear. We will not work through the Council. Any agreements must be directly with Earth, and any species that joins us must treat us as equals. No exceptions. Min nodded. I will begin immediately. After she left, remained. She watched Ho carefully. You are a good man, she said. Most people would want revenge. You want justice. Revenge helps no one, Ho replied. I do not want the Council to suffer. I want them to change, to become something better than what they were. If that happens, then all of this pain will have meant something. And if they refuse to change? Ho looked out at the city again. Millions of humans going about their lives, safe, happy, free from the contempt of alien overlords. Then we build something new, something better. A galaxy where all species are valued, where no one is called vermin or expendable, where cooperation is based on respect, not power. Smiled. That sounds like a dream. All great things start as dreams, Admiral. The question is whether we have the courage to make them real. Back in Council space, Counselor Lyra was working harder than ever. She had been right about everything. The collapse she predicted was happening exactly as she had calculated, and now, finally, people were starting to listen to her. A group of junior counselors had formed around her. They were young. They were scared. They wanted someone who understood what was happening. The power grid will fail completely within 60 days, Lyra told them. She pointed to charts on her screen. After that, we lose life support on 17 stations. Another 30 planets will go dark. What can we do? One of them asked. We need to rebuild, but not the same way as before. The old system was too dependent on any single species. We need redundancy, backup systems, multiple experts for every critical function. That will take years, another counselor protested. Yes, it will. But if we do not start now, we will not have years. We will have months, maybe weeks. The group dispersed to their duties. Each one had a list of tasks, small things, manageable things. Together, they might be enough to slow the collapse. But Lyra knew the truth. They could not stop what was coming. They could only try to survive it. She returned to her quarters late that night. Her body was exhausted. Her mind would not stop racing. She sat at her window and looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there was Earth, the human, the planet of the species everyone had mocked. "We were so foolish," she whispered to herself. "So proud, so blind, you tried to tell us what you were worth. You showed us every day, and we refused to see." She thought about Park Ho, the engineer who had taught her so much. He had been kind even when others were cruel. He had treated her as an equal even though his own people were treated as less than nothing. That was what made humans special, she realized. Not their technology, not their military, their hearts, their ability to care about others even when those others did not care about them. The Council had thrown away the most precious thing in the galaxy, not because humans were powerful, but because they were good. And now the galaxy was paying the price for that mistake. 3 weeks later, the first Council station went dark. It was a small station, only 50,000 people, but it was the beginning. The power failed at noon. Backup systems lasted 2 hours. Then they died too. Emergency broadcasts went out, but most ships were too far away to help. By the time rescue vessels arrived, 2,000 people had suffocated in the cold darkness of space. Counselor made a speech. He called it a tragedy. He promised it would not happen again. It happened again 2 days later. Another station, another failure, another 1,000 dead. The Council was dying. Everyone could see it now. The laughter had stopped. The jokes about primitive humans had ended. All that remained was fear. And in that fear, a question began to form. A question that more and more species were starting to ask. How do we bring the humans back? The answer they would discover was not simple. The humans had left for a reason. They would not return without changes, real changes, the kind of changes that would transform everything the Council had been for 10,000 years. The question was whether the Council was willing to make those changes, or whether pride would kill them all. The shuttle landed on Earth at sunset. The sky was painted orange and red, beautiful colors that the alien passengers had never seen before. Their worlds had different suns, different atmospheres. Nothing like this. Counselor stepped off the shuttle first. His 4 arms hung at his sides. His blue skin looked pale and tired. He had aged 10 years in the past 6 months. Behind him came Counselor Tor, the furry leader of his species was starving. He had come personally to beg for food. Counselor floated beside them, her lights dim and weak. The fed on energy from power grids. With those grids failing, her people were dying of hunger. A dozen other counselors followed, the most powerful leaders in the galaxy, rulers of ancient empires, masters of technology far beyond anything Earth possessed. All of them had come to ask for help from the species they had once called vermin. Min met them at the landing pad. She wore a simple suit, no medals, no decorations, just a young woman doing her job. "Welcome to Earth," she said. Her voice was polite but cool. "Ambassador Park is waiting. Please follow me." They walked through the streets of Seoul. The aliens looked around in wonder. The city was clean. The people were happy. Shops were open. Children played in parks. Everything was so normal, so calm, so different from the chaos consuming their own worlds. "How is this possible?" Tor asked. "How can your planet be so peaceful when the rest of the galaxy burns?" Min glanced back at him. "We built our own systems, our own networks. We never depended on the Council for anything important. When we left, we lost nothing." "But you were part of the Council for 40 years, said. "You must have relied on us for something." "We tried to rely on you. We offered to share. You refused, so we learned to take care of ourselves." The counselors said nothing more. What could they say? Every word from this young woman reminded them of their mistakes. Ambassador Ho received them in his office. It was a simple room, Wooden furniture, paper scrolls on the walls, a window looking out at the mountains. Nothing fancy, nothing meant to impress, just a place where work got done. "Please sit," Ho said. He gestured to chairs arranged in a circle. "I understand you have come a long way." Sat down heavily, the others followed. For a long moment no one spoke. Finally broke the silence. "Ambassador Park, I will be direct. The Galactic Council is dying. Our systems are failing. Our people are suffering. We need your help." Ho nodded slowly. "I am aware of your situation. My heart goes out to all the innocent people affected by this crisis." "Then you will help us?" Tor asked eagerly. "You will send your engineers, your doctors, your farmers?" "That depends." "Depends on what?" asked. Ho leaned forward. His eyes were calm but firm. "It depends on whether you understand why we left, and whether you are willing to make real changes." Spread his four hands. "We understand. We were not as welcoming as we should have been. We apologize." "Not as welcoming," Ho repeated. He let the words hang in the air. "Counselor, you called us vermin. You called us expendable. You suggested our soldiers should die fighting pirates because their lives did not matter. For 40 years, your council treated humanity like garbage. Is that what you mean by not as welcoming?" His face turned darker. He was not used to being spoken to this way, but he swallowed his pride. He had no choice. "Yes," he said quietly. "We were wrong, terribly wrong. We see that now." "Do you, or do you just need our help?" The question cut deep. Every counselor in the room felt its edge. Ho stood and walked to the window. He looked out at the mountains for a long moment before speaking again. "When I was a young diplomat, I believed in the council. I believed that if we worked hard enough, proved ourselves enough times, you would accept us. I spent 30 years trying to earn your respect. Do you know what I got for it?" No one answered. "I got nothing. Every request, every suggestion ignored, every attempt to help thrown back in my face. And the worst part, I kept trying, I kept believing, because I thought that was what good diplomats did." He turned to face them. "I was wrong. Good diplomats do not accept abuse. Good diplomats do not let their people be treated like servants. Good diplomats know when to walk away." Counselor flickered weakly. "Ambassador, please, my people are dying. We did not personally insult you. We just stayed silent. Is that really so terrible?" "Yes," Ho said simply. "Silence in the face of injustice is its own form of cruelty. You watched us suffer and said nothing. You could have spoken up. You could have defended us. You chose not to." The room fell silent again. Admiral entered. She carried a folder of documents. She handed it to Ho and stood beside him. "I have prepared a list of conditions," Ho said. "If you want humanity's help, you must agree to all of them. No exceptions, no negotiations." He handed the folder too. The blue-skinned counselor opened it and began to read. His eyes grew wider with each page. This is impossible," he said. "You want full voting rights, equal representation, a human on the High Council. Among other things, you want us to rewrite the founding charter, to change laws that have stood for 10,000 years. Yes." Threw the folder down. "You ask too much. No species has ever received such concessions." "No species has ever given what we gave," Ho replied calmly. "You took our help for granted. You assumed we would always be there, cleaning up your messes, saving your lives. Now you know the truth. Our help has value. If you want it, you must pay for it." Tor picked up the folder. He read through the conditions more carefully than had. When he finished, he looked at Ho with something like respect. "These conditions are harsh," Tor said, "but they are fair. You are asking for what you should have had from the beginning." "Exactly," Ho said. "We are not asking for more than any other founding species. We are just asking to be treated equally." "The Council will never agree," insisted. "The other species will not accept humans as equals. It goes against everything they believe." smiled coldly. Then the council will die, and humans will build something new without you. Stared at her. For the first time he truly understood. The humans were not bluffing. They did not need the council. They never had. The council had needed them. May we have time to consider? Asked. These are major changes we must discuss with our governments. Of course, Ho said. Take all the time you need, but understand this. Every day you delay, more of your people die. Every day you argue about tradition and pride, another station goes dark. The choice is yours. The counselors left that evening. They flew back to the council station in silence. Each of them was lost in thought. Each of them was trying to figure out what to do. When they arrived, they found chaos waiting. 3 more stations had failed while they were gone. Riots had broken out on 5 planets. 2 species were threatening to leave the council completely. Called an emergency meeting. He presented Ho's conditions. The reaction was immediate. Never, one counselor shouted. We will not bow to humans. They are blackmailing us, another yelled. This is terrorism. We should attack Earth, a third suggested. Destroy them before they destroy us. The shouting went on for hours. No one agreed on anything. The council was tearing itself apart. In the middle of the chaos, Counselor Lyra stood up. Her small voice somehow cut through the noise. May I speak? She asked. The room fell quiet. Lyra had gained respect in recent months. She had predicted the collapse. She had worked tirelessly to slow it. People listened to her now. We have 2 choices, Lyra said. We can accept the human conditions and survive, or we can reject them and die. Those are the only options. There is no third path. We could rebuild on our own, argued. No, we cannot. The data is clear. Without human help, the council will completely collapse within 8 months. Half our population will die within a year. This is not opinion. This is mathematics. Silence filled the chamber. Everyone knew Lyra's numbers were accurate. She had never been wrong. So we just surrender? Tor asked. We give up 10,000 years of tradition. Tradition is meaningless if no one is alive to remember it, Lyra replied. The humans are offering us a chance to survive, a chance to build something new together. We can take that chance, or we can die proud and alone. The vote was held that night. It was close, closer than anyone expected. But in the end, fear won over pride. The council voted to accept humanity's conditions, all of them, without changes. Was sent back to Earth to deliver the news. He arrived the next morning, tired and defeated. Ho received him alone this time, just 2 old enemies in a quiet room. We accept, said. He could barely get the words out. All your conditions, we accept everything. Ho studied him carefully. Do you mean it, or will you go back to your old ways once the crisis is over? Was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was different, softer, more honest than it had ever been. I have been a counselor for 300 years, he said. I have seen species rise and fall. I have watched empires crumble to dust, but I have never seen anything like this. I have never seen a species so small change the galaxy so completely. He looked at Ho directly. You were right about everything. We treated you terribly. We deserved what happened, and now we must face the consequences. Will you change? Ho asked again. Really change? I do not know, admitted. Change is hard, especially for old creatures like me, but I will try. For the sake of my people, I will try. Ho extended his hand, a human gesture of agreement, looked at it for a moment, then took it with one of his 4 hands. Then we have a deal, Ho said. Humanity will help rebuild the council, but it will be a new council, a better one where all species are valued. And where no one is called vermin, added quietly. And where no one is called vermin. The handshake lasted only a moment, but it marked the end of one era and the beginning of another. The humans were coming back, but this time they would not come as servants. They would come as equals. 1 year had passed since the handshake that changed everything. The great hall of the Galactic Council looked different now. The crystal lights still hung from the ceiling. The seats still rose in circles toward the distant walls, but something fundamental had changed. In the center of the chamber, where the most powerful species once sat, there was now a new arrangement. All seats were equal. No section was larger or smaller than another. No species sat higher or lower than its neighbors. And in one of those equal sections sat the human delegation. Ambassador Park Ho looked around the room. He still remembered how it felt to sit in the back, to be mocked and ignored, to watch others laugh at his people. Those memories would never completely fade. But today was different. Today, humans sat as equals. Today, when Ho spoke, the galaxy listened. "The session will come to order," announced the new speaker. Her name was Counselor Lyra, the small woman who had predicted the collapse, the one who had tried to warn everyone. She had been elected speaker 3 months ago by unanimous vote, even had supported her. "Our first matter is the Reconstruction Progress Report," Lyra continued. "Admiral, please present your findings." Admiral stood. She walked to the center of the chamber with confidence. No one laughed at her uniform now. No one suggested that human soldiers were expendable. "The power grid is now at 92% capacity," reported. "We expect full restoration within 4 months. The trade network is operating at 85%. Most routes are functioning normally. Remaining issues should be resolved by year's end." She touched a control, and a holographic display appeared above her head. Charts and graphs showed the progress of the past year. "Medical services have been restored to all affected worlds. Dr. Young has returned to with a full team. Disease outbreaks have been contained. Mortality rates are returning to normal levels." At the mention of doctor, a counselor bowed his head in gratitude. His species had suffered greatly during the collapse. They would never forget who had saved them. "Food production is ahead of schedule," continued. "The farming worlds are recovering faster than expected. We should have surplus stores within 6 months." She turned off the display and faced the council directly. "In summary, the crisis is ending. The council is recovering, but I must remind everyone why this happened. We collapsed because we depended too heavily on one species while treating that species with contempt. This must never happen again." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the chamber. Everyone remembered the dark months, the failures, the deaths. No one wanted to repeat that nightmare. "Thank you, Admiral," Lyra said. "Our next matter is a petition for membership." This caused a stir. New membership applications had increased dramatically since the reforms. Species that had left the Council during the collapse were asking to return. Others who had never been members were applying for the first time. "The petition comes from the Dominion," Lyra announced. Silence fell over the chamber. This was unexpected. They had been founding members of the original Council. They had not left. Why would they need to apply for membership? Counselor stood. He looked older than he had a year ago. The stress had taken its toll, but there was something else in his eyes now, something that looked almost like humility. "I submit this petition on behalf of my species," said. His voice was quiet. "Under the old council, they held special privileges, greater voting power, larger territory rights, preferential trade agreements. Under the new council, these privileges no longer exist." He paused. The chamber waited. "Some of my people believe we should fight to restore our former status. They argue that 10,000 years of history cannot be erased. They say this should lead the galaxy, as we always have." Another pause. Ho watched carefully. He had learned to read over the past year. The old counselor was building to something important. "I disagree with them," continued. "I have seen what arrogance does. I have watched my people suffer because we thought we were better than everyone else. We were not better, we were just louder." He turned to face Ho directly. "The humans taught us something. They showed us that true strength is not about power or technology. It is about character, about treating others with dignity, about earning respect instead of demanding it. Bowed his head. It was a gesture of submission, something I had never done in public before. On behalf of the Dominion, I asked to join the new Galactic Alliance as an equal member, not as a leader, not as a superior, just as one species among many, working together for the good of all. The chamber was silent for a long moment. Then slowly applause began. It started with the humans, then the joined, then more and more species until the entire hall was thundering with approval. Lyra raised her hand for quiet. The petition will be reviewed according to standard procedures. All members will vote after the review period. But I want to say something personal, if I may. She looked at with something like sympathy. I know this was hard for you, counselor. Admitting weakness is never easy, especially for those who were once strong. But you have shown today that they can change. That gives me hope for all of us. After the session, Ho walked through the station corridors. So much had changed in a year. The halls were brighter now. The people were friendlier. He passed aliens of a dozen species, and many of them smiled or nodded in greeting. A year ago, they would have looked through him like he was invisible. Now they saw him as a colleague, a partner, an equal. He reached his office and found Min waiting for him. She had grown even more in the past year. She was no longer his assistant. She was now the deputy ambassador, his second in command. Good speech from Min said. I almost believed him. Ho smiled, almost. Old habits are hard to break. He has said the right words. Now we see if he means them. Fair enough. Ho sat down at his desk. What else do we have today? Min pulled up a list. 12 new trade agreements to review, 5 membership applications to evaluate, 3 requests for human engineers, 2 requests for human doctors, 1 invitation to speak at the academy. Just a normal day, then. Just a normal day. Ho looked at the list and felt a warm satisfaction. This was what he had dreamed of. Not power, not revenge, just a chance for humanity to contribute, to help, to be part of something greater than themselves. That was all they had ever wanted. His door chimed. He told it to open. Admiral walked in, still in her formal uniform from the council session. I just received a message from Earth, she said. The president wants to congratulate you on the petition. She says it is a historic moment. It is, Ho agreed. But the work is not finished. We have rebuilt the systems. Now we must rebuild the trust. That will take much longer. Sat down across from him. Do you think they have really changed? Or are they just being nice because they need us? It was the question everyone was asking. The question that would take years to answer. I think some have changed, Ho said carefully. Lyra has always been good, they have always been grateful, even seems different, but others, I am not sure, time will tell. And if they go back to their old ways, after everything is rebuilt and they do not need us anymore. Ho thought about this for a long moment. Then we will leave again. We have proven that we can survive alone. We have proven that the galaxy needs us more than we need them. If they forget that lesson, we will remind them. That sounds almost like a threat. It is not a threat. It is a promise. We will never again accept being treated as less than what we are. Not for any reason, not for any price. Nodded slowly. Good, that is what I tell my soldiers. That is what keeps them proud. That evening, Ho returned to his quarters. He stood by the window and looked out at the stars. So many of them. So many worlds. So many species, each with their own history and dreams. His phone buzzed, a message from Dr. On. Ambassador just wanted to share some news. We delivered our first healthy baby today since returning, a little girl. The parents named her after your admiral. They said it means hope in human language. Ho smiled. It was a small thing, one baby on one planet in a galaxy of trillions, but it meant everything. This was why they had come back, not for power or respect or revenge, for life, for the chance to help others and be helped in return. He thought about his grandmother. She had been a refugee during the wars on Earth. She had lost everything, but she had taught him something that stayed with him his whole life. Kindness is never wasted, she used to say, even when others do not deserve it, even when they throw it back in your face. You keep being kind because that is who you are, and someday the world will change to match your kindness. She had been right. It had taken 40 years. It had taken pain and rejection and finally walking away. But the world had changed. The galaxy had changed. And humans had been the ones to change it. Not with weapons, not with technology, not with power. With kindness, with patience, with the stubborn refusal to give up on others even when those others had given up on them. A knock came at his door. He opened it to find Counselor Lyra standing there. She looked nervous. "I am sorry to disturb you, Ambassador," she said, "but I wanted to thank you personally." "For what?" "For everything. For not giving up on us. For coming back when you had every right to stay away. For showing us what we could be instead of just punishing us for what we were." Ho smiled gently. "The galaxy is not a perfect place, Counselor. Neither are humans. We make mistakes too. We get angry and hurt, and sometimes we want revenge. But we try to be better. Every day we try." Lyra nodded. "That is what makes you special, I think. Not that you are perfect, but that you keep trying, even when it is hard, even when no one thanks you." "Will you thank us?" Ho asked. 100 years from now, when the crisis is a distant memory." "I will," Lyra promised, "and I will make sure others do too. The story of what happened here must never be forgotten. The lesson must be passed down through generations." She extended her small hand, a human gesture, something she had learned from watching them. Ho took her hand and shook it gently. "Welcome to the new galaxy, Counselor. Let us build something worth remembering." Outside the window, the stars burned bright, a billion points of light in the endless darkness, and somewhere among them a new order was being born, an alliance of equals, a partnership of species who had learned through pain and loss that they needed each other. Humanity had walked away from the Galactic Council, and in walking away, they had forced the galaxy to follow them toward something better. Not a perfect ending. There would still be struggles ahead, still conflicts and disagreements and moments of doubt, but there was hope now, real hope, the kind that comes from knowing that people can change. That was humanity's gift to the stars, the lesson they had taught by leaving, and the promise they had made by coming back.